Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Happy Friday to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. This is the C.L. Bryant Show, and welcome aboard. I am C.L. Bryant. To all of you throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, I certainly hope that you are on track for a great and wonderful weekend here. Certainly hope that you remain safe and hope that you remained sound out there on the highways of wherever you are, our nation's highways. Broadcasting from the jewel cities of the Arklatex, what we call it here in Louisiana, northwest Louisiana, Shreveport and Bossier City, from the flagship station, Town KEEL, 710 KEEL, Town Square Media. And I want to say hello to all of our friends in Wilmington, North Carolina, and also to our friends in Arkansas, southern Arkansas, and East Texas. And I'm trying to get Robert and Aaron on up in Wilmington. I don't know if they want to go or not, but I really would love for them to join me on that station. It's a really good deal. We'll talk to them about it a little bit later on. Now, folks, remember this name. His name is Mike Rowe, because you're going to hear his words from this show over and over again, and I think it is something that we do need to understand in this current climate. And coming up a little bit later on the show is an announcement for an event that is kicking off tomorrow at 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, tomorrow at the Benton Courthouse. I will be there along with my good friend Mike Johnson. He's going to be there with me and along with hopefully about 1,000 or more of your very best and closest compatriots here in the Arklatex area. We're going to be talking about how our nation will be great again. It'll be a fantastic rally. Diane Long is going to come and talk to us about that a little bit later on, following up on what Brenda O'Brock had to say to us on last evening. But the words that I told you to remember will come from this gentleman. His name is Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe is a premier motivator throughout the country. Just Google his name. But he said this, and I really like this, and I think he coined it on the spot. He said, in order to make America great again, we're going to have to make work cool again. Oh, I like it. I like it. You know why? Because it speaks to our young people. It speaks to those who have had a free ride for such a long time, but now it's time to get off and do some work and help push this American wagon. In order to make America great again, it is necessary that we make work cool again. And when you think about it, folks, it really isn't cool in the minds of so many. It's not cool to work. It is uncool to work. It is rather more cool to float around all day long without anything to do. I don't dig it. I don't like it. You shouldn't get into it, and your kids should not like it either. There is a question that is looming in the American mindset, and that is, who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to pay the bills? Nobody's going to be paying the bills here in another 15, 20 years, 25, 30 years, if there are people who cannot go to work. And with the people who are trying their very best to undermine every opportunity to create jobs, to create continual work in this country, with their efforts, as fervent as their efforts have been demonstrated in these last few weeks, they actually want to create a class of people who feel as though they don't have to work, that they're entitled to something, that somebody owes them something. And friends, in order to make America great again, I agree with Mike Rowe. We're going to have to make work cool again. We got to make the military cool again. And I tell you, I remember I was gonna join up. My dad actually, it was peacetime. Vietnam War was just over. It was peacetime. My dad came to me. I told him I was about to going down to I wanted to be a Marine. He said, "Son, your grandfather and your great grandfather and I fought the wars. You go to school." And so I did. Out of all the advice that my dad had given me, I wish he had not given me that advice. Not saying it was bad advice. Dad never gave me bad advice. But out of all the advice that he gave me that I listened to, I wish I had not listened to that, because I do have somewhat of regret in my life that I did not join the Marines and go on to become a police officer. I wish I had done that. Now, work was cool back then. We all wanted to get out of the house and get our own apartment, get our own car, have our own life. Apart from our parents and grandparents, we wanted to be our own men, and even the young women were looking for independence. They were actually thirsting for independence back then. There was a new era of womanhood that was coming about, and certainly us young Turks, us young males, were looking to make our mark in the world. Took me a while, but I finally got somewhere. I told you all before, I tried hard after high school, after I had almost dropped out of college. It was my wife who pulled me out of the muck and mire that I was into. I'm sure glad God sent her my way. He sure knew what I needed. He needed somebody who was patient and kind. And here, over 40 years later, we're still doing that thing. But folks, I had a desire to work, and most of the people that were around me at that time, they wanted to work. Getting a job was cool. And America, even though we were coming out of the Jimmy Carter era, America was a great nation, still is, but let's make it as great or greater again. I'll be right back. I'm CL. Yeah, it's time to break on through to the other side. And friends, I am reminded of a question that Lincoln, 16th President of the United States, asked. And it is one now, if you're serious about looking at our country as far as its longevity is concerned, we have to look back on the historical makeup of our nation, and we have to look back on a time that violently separated, divided our country. It was a time of out and out upheaval of the American soul. And when it was over, one of the last great battles of the Civil War, the determining factor of the Civil War was the Battle of Gettysburg. Lincoln came out with still, as he stood there on that battlefield, still one of the greatest speeches I think our nation has heard as a nation. It still speaks to the American soul. We call it the Gettysburg Address. And this is just a portion that I want to read. It's found in the second paragraph, first sentence of the second paragraph. Well, I'm going to read the first paragraph and the first sentence of the second paragraph for you. I want you to pay attention to what he has said to them 150 some odd years ago now, and what we are looking at as far as our nation is concerned today. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. That's where we're going to jump off here in this next couple of segments. Now we stand on a great battlefield. We are engaged in a great civil war, testing. In 2017, this speech was given in 1864-65. 1864-65. This 65. This speech was given then. Here we are in 2017, still engaged in a great civil war. Basically over the same issues. States' rights is back on the table. Race has never left the table. But along with them are a lot of other assorted niceties or unpleasantries, regardless of how you look at it. And really, regardless, it might depend on what party you're in. Democrat, Republican, or unconcerned. They have added a few things to that called gay. Since 1865, they have added a few things to the great Civil War in America that we really do need to ask, how did that get in here? One, gay marriage. Two, abortion. Were there gays in 1865? Yeah, sure was. In fact, you go back to Leviticus, Genesis, and it's there. Abortion, oh yeah, been around for a long time. But there is a certain thing about America that even though it was here in this country, depravity does follow people regardless of where they live, because we are human beings. Yeah. But as John Adams said, this nation was conceived and founded for only a moral people It cannot be governed by anybody else. And when certain mores of morality, when certain aspects of morality leave a society, when certain decencies are void in a society, then you begin to see that society, regardless of how strong its military is, regardless of how strong the people are, once the idea of decency and morality leaves, and once relativism takes shape, that everything is great, everything is good, and everything is okay as long as we love the people who are doing it. When we take that type of attitude toward the overall society and the health of the society will begin to crumble from within. You have people attacking a Navy SEAL's wife. Going to talk to you a little bit more about that when I return. CL back with you on the weekend show, streaming live throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. But the question that Lincoln posed to us so many years ago now, 150 years ago now, and that question was, can a nation so conceived as ours long endure? When I left you in the last block, I threw at you these words, and these words are so true. You have people in this country on the radical left who are attacking a slain Navy SEAL's wife. Why are they doing that? I was talking to you about the essence of morality when it leaves our nation, when it goes away. Then we are talking about a nation that will crumble from within. When we look at Ryan Owens, Navy SEAL, all gave some gave all. He is one who gave all to a grateful nation, his life. And he left behind his widow, his wife. And the President of the United States had the decency to honor his memory and the loss of one of our warriors by inviting his wife to sit in the gallery at his speech that he gave on last Tuesday night. And there are people who are attacking her, have called her stupid, and saying that she is being used as a pawn by the president. That is absolutely, my friends, the most heinous thing that can actually happen as far as an assault against an American patriot, especially one of our own in uniform. It sickens me to think where and how far those who hate America and those who hate this president will go to try to make political points. Friends, I'll tell you this. Ryan Owens did not sign up to serve Republicans or Democrats. He died knowing more about our enemy than any of us will ever know. Those are the words of Talia Kyle. Yeah. And he deserves to be applauded in any arena, in any environment. He deserves to be applauded. And his wife, Corinne, does not deserve to be attacked and maligned by anyone, especially when she was the guest of honor of the commander-in-chief of the United States, and the full combined gathering of Congress gave her a standing applause. How can anyone with any decency find it within their self to throw a stone at a fallen American warrior's wife? It sickens me. And you can have the decency test right now. If it doesn't appall you, if it does not just get under your skin that there are people who would do this in 2017 America, we have to ask the question, can a nation like ours, so conceived, long endure? It should sicken you. That's the test. It should just reek to you. That's the test. But it should also drive you to ask yourself, now, just what am I prepared to do about this? Just what am I prepared to do about this? Coming up tomorrow, you can meet me. I'll be at the Bossier Parish Courthouse along with about 1,000 or more of our closest friends. Mike Johnson's going to be there with me. Come on out. Come on out. We're going to be talking about the greatness of America. If you feel it within you, if you know that our nation is still a great nation, and if you feel it slipping, if you feel it beginning to go away in this political climate that we have right now, then you need to come on out and join in solidarity with other patriots who understand what is necessary now to do in order to preserve the republic. I will be there along with my good friend Mike Johnson tomorrow. Coming up in the next block will be Diane Long, one of the organizers of this last evening. We had on Brenda O'Brock, the organizers of this great event. And so want you to come out and be a part of it. I want to thank Chevyland. I want to thank our friends at Arklatex Water Garden. I want to thank our friends at Once Upon a Diamond and One Planet Solar. All of you, I want to thank you for sponsoring this show, along with our good buddy, Tom Milam, Milam Cars. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show, streaming live throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth. The greatest success story the world has ever known. America. Back in a minute. CL, back with you on this Friday, the weekend show. This show will re-air tomorrow morning on our friend station, The Promise, and invite you to tune in. All of our friends up there in Wilmington, North Carolina, I want to thank you for bringing us into your bosom as well. And Southern Arkansas, East Texas, thank you for coming along on this journey. Nearly 3 years that we've now been on the air, and thank you for making us very popular here in the Arklatex area. There's a lot of people and a lot of things that go on in our area here that you have certain people who always are a part of the shaking and the moving of that, especially when we're talking about things that pertain to our republic and patriotism. One of them, you heard her counterpart on last evening, Brenda O'Brock. You heard her last night. But tonight, my other friend, her name is Diane Long. We've been hanging out together for several years now. And Diane and Brenda have joined forces with others to put together an event tomorrow up in Benton that I want her to further elaborate on. Now, Diane Long, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show. How are you?
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I certainly love talking to you and your listening audience because I know they're patriots.
Thank you so much, Diane. We got something going on tomorrow at the Bossier Parish Courthouse. Tell us all about it.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving me this quick platform, CL. I appreciate you. And let me say that Louisiana Power Coalition is teaming up with Rob Manus, Gator Pack, and some other sponsors to invite you to what we call the Spirit of America rally. That's going to be taking place Saturday at 12 noon. The rally will be at the Benton Courthouse grounds and will run for approximately 2 hours. We don't know exactly how long, but that's give or take a few minutes. We have a great band called the Backstreet Boogie Band, and they will kick off the rally at 11:30. And I want to shout out special thanks to Jim O'Brock for bringing his band into the rally because I know it's a lot of work, and he has to make sure all those people get on board. So also we have plenty of police presence for security, CL.
Yeah.
So, I want to make sure people knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are organizing the rally through Louisiana Power Coalition, which is an active conservative group here in the Shreveport and Bossier City area. We are privileged to have the call from, retired Colonel Rob Manus of Gator Pack about 2 weeks ago. He called me and asked if he could enlist our leadership to help organize this rally. And he was enlisting leaders across the state for Breitbart to show support for Trump. Breitbart's goal was to organize rallies across America, and they've been very successful. The purpose of the rally is to demonstrate our pro-American, pro-Trump agenda. We provide a platform for patriots who believe in traditional American values, promoting strong economy, strong American family values, law and order, reinforcement of border patrol, and national security and sovereignty. So that was our great interest in doing the rally because there's been a destructive presence in our country and the left.
Yeah.
And their tactics are anti-American.
Yeah. And you know what, Diane? This is something that, of course, I'm always honored to be a part of. Now, Mike Johnson's going to be joining me, I understand.
Yes. U.S. Representative Mike Johnson, retired U.S. Army Major Ron Chatelain, who is the recipient of 4 Purple Hearts, as well as many other service medals, you, Reverend C.L. Bryant, and then finally local political patriot in Lafayette named Joyce Lindy.
Yeah, my good friend Joyce. Mm-hmm. Joy's going to be up here. That's great. Glad to hear that.
Yes, I'm so pumped about her coming all the way up for this.
Oh, she's something else, I got to tell you. And I certainly look forward to it. And, folks, you take the time tomorrow, high noon, Bossier Parish Courthouse. That's in Benton. That's as you're coming into Benton, the Bossier Parish Courthouse. Join us there. I want to see no less than 1,000 of us out there. I would like to see 3,000, 4,000. Let's flood it out. Let's give from our neck of the woods right here in Northwest Louisiana. Let's send this visual throughout the rest of the world that there are patriots alive and well here in Northwest Louisiana. And tell them again, Diane, what time it kicks off, how long you expect us to be out there.
Okay, it's going to be at 12 noon Saturday at the Bossier Parish Courthouse, which is in Benton. You can't miss it. It's the one big building in Benton. And that's a very easy parking. It's going to be right there on the grounds. We will have a food truck, and there will be food and drink and music and great speakers like yourself, Reverend C.L. Bryant.
I certainly look forward to it. God bless you and God keep you. There's something you said, Diane, that I want to reiterate. We want to make sure that you know, there's no question about it, that you know that we are pro-America and we're pro-Trump. We're pro-President Trump. Come on out and be a part of that. We're unashamed of that. We're unashamed of our patriotism and unashamed of the support for the President of the United States. Come on out and be a part of that. I'll be talking to you tomorrow. Love to shake some hands and say hello to all of you. Mike Johnson's going to be there with me, along with at least 1,000 or more of our closest friends. Let's come on out and do it. Diane, God bless and keep you. We'll see you high noon tomorrow, good Lord willing.
Thank you so much, CL. Thank you for having me on.
You betcha. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, folks, that is important. It is very important that we send a message. This is not a rally for just anybody. It is a rally for Americans, those who understand the tenets of this great nation and the core values that has made this nation great over the years, but in recent times have been slipping. Those core values have been slipping from the face of our nation. And we want to join with you and ask you to help us join with others around the nation. My friends at Breitbart, our friends in Washington, D.C., let's join with Gator Packy and let's understand that we can make America. We should make America. We shall make America great again. In whose eyes? In the eyes of the American citizens. Yes, we can be Americans again. I'm CL. Be back in a minute.
Been waiting for the bus all day. Have mercy. Been waiting for the bus all day.
CL It's Friday. It's the weekend show. And yes, all you folks there in Wilmington, North Carolina, thank you for being there with me. Southern Arkansas, East Texas, right here around the Arklatex area. I want to thank you for coming along with us, and all of you who are listening to the live stream throughout the great nation of America. My homeland, your homeland, I certainly hope it is. And if you're here illegally, hey, you need to leave, come back when you can get yourself legal. Get in line and join us that way. But if you're here illegally, if you snuck in, it's time for you to leave, and you can come back, but come back through the front door. Listen, I don't care what feathers I ruffle with that. Do you understand me? I don't care what feathers I ruffle with that. That is exactly the way that should be said. If you are in this country illegally, you need to get out of here, and you can come back, but you come back knocking on the front door. Are you hearing me? Americans, are you prepared to send that message? Are you prepared to stand up to the progressive liberals who would like to tell us that we're wrong for having that attitude, who would like to tell us that there's something wrong with us for telling folks to get out of our house who are trespassing? Are you prepared to tell them, give them that message? You need to be prepared to know what you're going to do. You need to prepare to say, to express how you feel and express what you are prepared to do. And that is hold those who are in power in Washington, D.C., the power that you gave them, who are prepared. You must be prepared to hold them responsible. Now, those of you who are conservative, those of you who are Republican, those of you who are both, because sometimes they're not synonymous. Okay? But those of you who are conservative and those of you who are Republicans, listen up. We have given you, and I hope it's just not in name only, as it had been for 6 years. We have given you the presidency. We have given you the United States House of Representatives. We have given you the Senate. And we have placed certain of you from our various states, all 50 of them, we have placed certain of you in leadership positions. Now, there is something that we are expecting of you. And that is that you do not betray our trust and our security. That you do not weasel out of the deal. That you don't renege on the deal that we made when we gave you our vote. And folks, just let me talk to you for just a minute. Let me tell you something. We need to pay close attention. From now on, we should have been doing it all along. But we need to pay close attention from now on as to who comes to us trying to sell us a bill of goods. Sick of it. Sick of people politicking with us just to get themselves an office. Just to put themselves in office. Only to go along with the corruption that goes on in Washington, D.C. Oh, I know that it is a seductive place. I know that. I'm in and out of Washington, D.C. all the time, on Capitol Hill all the time. I'm a fellow with Freedom Works. We can see the Capitol from our office building, from our office building. We can throw a rock and hit the Capitol. I walk right across the street at Freedom Works. I'm on the Capitol property, on our property. United States property. I'm in and out of there all the time. K Street is right around the corner. Yeah. And let me tell you something. It is a seductive place. But I am very glad that we have someone in the commander-in-chief office right now who doesn't need to be seduced. And folks, you need to know something. One of the reasons, if not the chief reason, why he is receiving so much hell and so many darts fired at him is because they have tried behind the closed doors to seduce him. They actually tried to lure him away from his goal of being president of the United States. That didn't work, so they tried to humiliate him. They tried to make fun of him, make him a caricature. That's what they do. That is a method of rules for radicals. You try to make buffoons out of them so people will laugh at them. Then you ridicule them. And folks, we do live in perilous times. Because when things like that don't work, when they laugh at you and you don't go away, when they ridicule you and you don't go away, when they start to attack you on every side and you don't go away, then you have to be really careful. You have to rally your own troops around you because now they're going to come after you. By whatever means, they're going to come after you. And that's why we as Americans, we have to ask ourselves this question, and we have to answer this question. What are we prepared to do to save the republic? The one thing that has to be constant in our answer is that we will not take it any longer. We will not tolerate it any longer. You can laugh all you want. You can ridicule all you want. You can verbally attack all you want. But as far as the upheaval and the disruption and the violence and and also let's send this message, and the attacking of a slain American slain American warriors' families, not tolerating it. We're not going to tolerate that. And so that's where we are. And that's what we have got to do. Now, when I come back after the break, I want you to see another aspect of this attack that's going on. Attorney General, just a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, Attorney General, Jeff Sessions was not Attorney General. He is now. Keep an eye out for this. I'll tell you about it when I come back. I'm CL. Yeah, as I was telling you, there's something I want to share with you in regard to Jeff Sessions. Now, I mentioned this on yesterday, but it is developing. And it's silly. it appears that we are in a season, and I trust that's all it is. I trust that's all it is. I just trust that it is a season of silliness. They do come and go. They're cyclical, but it seems like they're lasting longer now than they have been. The seasonal sickness that goes on in this country, it's just nuts. This thing that goes on that Jeff Sessions is facing, they're trying to bring him down, as I mentioned yesterday, like they did Mike Flynn, General Mike Flynn. They're trying to paint him as though he did something improper with the Russians, and for the life of me, I have not yet figured out what the fixation that the progressive liberals have with the Russians and the Trump administration. They are trying to make it appear as though there is some type of nefarious, shadowy type of thing that is going on with the Russians and the Trump administration. And we took out one of his generals, Mike Flynn, who was going to be his advisor on military issues. Now we found that Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States, shook hands while he was senator with a Russian ambassador. And then it's quite possible that he talked to him as a senator of the United States Senate. He talked to a Russian ambassador. Well, you know what, folks? Newsflash. That's what senators do. And the fact of the matter is, as I told you yesterday, Jeff Sessions was not a part of the Trump campaign when all this reportedly took place. Now, it tells us something. It tells us that there are still people who are in the intelligence community, that are still loyal to the last administration, or at least the Democrat Party. There are people who thought that Hillary Clinton would be president, and now they're offended that she's not, and so they're doing what offended people do. They put out fake stories. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You offend. I'll give you a real good example. All of you married men out there, all of you married women out there, all of you children out there that have brothers and sisters, any of you who have friends out there, let me tell you what happens when you offend your wife, your husband, your sister, your brother, or your friends. When they are offended by you, they will come at you like this. You always do this. You're always trying to do something to harm me. You never give me a break. You never do what I ask you to do. Like my pastor said, you mean never and always? Are you kidding me? You husbands out there, she tells you, you never, listen to me. Come on now. Huh? You wives out there, when he says you always, no, he's offended. And when you are offended, that child who didn't get a piece of the piece of pie or cake or candy that they want, they always they will use this phrase, she always gets this. No, they don't. You're just offended. And so what does an offended person do? They exaggerate. And that's what the Democrats are doing. they're exaggerating because they're offended. Hillary Clinton was supposed to be their champion, supposed to be their president. She was supposed to be the one giving these speeches. She was supposed to be the one appointing judges and attorney generals. She was the one. She wasn't. She's not. And now, they're offended. So, folks, let me tell you this. Let them be offended. But don't you ever believe that you are going to win them over. Scripture even tells us that, hey, once a brother's offended, it's hard to win that one over. And so this fight is going to go on. It's not going to stop. I want to talk more about the Russians and Jeff Sessions when I return, because a fellow by the name of Al Franken, you remember him, he was a third-rate comedian. I think he did Saturday. Jay, did he do Saturday Night Live? Was Al Franken on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, he was. He was. What is it? He looked at the mirror with the guest.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
People like me.
Yeah.
Whatever the bit was.
Yeah. Third-rate comedian. Now he's senator from Minnesota. And it is being batted about that he is going to run for president. But also it's batted about that another big-name celebrity, you will know the name that I am going to mention, along with third-rate comedian Al Franken, who is trying to bring down Jeff Sessions. When I return, I want to thank each and every one of our guests for sponsoring this segment of the C.L. Bryant Show. But I can tell you this, the news is going to get better as we go along. The only way that we're going to survive all of this is to continue to be successful. Be successful. Find success in what we do. And if we find success in what we do, then we can put down this uprising that's going on against this new administration. It's absolutely silly. It's absolutely silly what's happening. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to get even sillier when I mention the names that are being batted about to run for president in 2020. I'm CL. Al Franken is one of them. But there's another one. Very well could be formidable in this climate. I'll be right back.
One, two, 1, 2, 3.
CL. Yeah, Mr. Saturday Night Special. Yeah, Al Franken was on SNL, Saturday Night Live. And but for the life of me, he was very unmemorable. I remember Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. Remember all of them. Jane Curtin, of course, Gilda, the late great Gilda Radner, and all of them. Eddie Murphy was just nuts on Saturday Night Live, and all of them were very memorable. But there's one skit, maybe one, that I actually remember of Al Franken. Again, third-rate comedian, third-rate politician, but tell you how crazy this thing can be. His name is in the hat, being batted about to be some type of contender in 2020. And also, lo and behold, guess who might want to be the first woman president? Oh, you guessed it. Oprah. Oprah Winfrey. Oh, yeah, that name is being batted about. Now, Oprah hasn't come out and said anything serious about it. She hasn't said a doggone word about it. But you do know that there will be a resurrection of the emotional vote if Oprah decides to throw her hat in the ring. You know, I've never met Oprah. I've met a lot of people, but I've never met Oprah. I'd really like to meet Oprah. I really would. That would be, it'd be great to meet someone of her stature and accomplishments. But no, she will. I don't think she'll have my vote. In fact, unless the world actually does spin off of his axis. That's the only. I can't see myself in that reality. I can't see myself in that reality, supporting or voting for anyone who is left leaning, as Oprah is. At one time, though, the core values. Think about that. I want to leave that I don't want to leave that just yet. Let me think about this. How do the Democrats get back in power? They don't have a legitimate contender in their camp in 2020. Elizabeth Warren will be right at, she may be over 70 years old in 2020. Elizabeth Warren will be, which is no, it's not a handicap. Trump in 2020 will be 74. Bernie Sanders, who knows? He may actually run again or be a kingmaker. He'll be nearly 80 in 2020. With us living longer these days and longevity being the way it is, a president, with in all sincerity, could easily become president at 75. And with longevity these days, do 2 terms. Really, he really could. Americans are living longer. People are living healthier and stronger. And that's good news for me. That really is. I have it in my family. Longevity runs in my family. So I may throw my hat in the ring in 2024. Who knows? Yeah, that'll be the day. But anyway, let me tell you something. Let me ask you something. How do the Democrats get back the White House? I think they're going to have to go with a nuclear option, like somebody like an Oprah Winfrey. Someone who has star power. That's just about what we had to do to win the White House ourselves. Unfortunately, we didn't know that. Trump knew it. Yeah, DJT, he knew it. But we didn't know that. Trump knew that it would take star power, serious star power, and somebody who actually loved America and had a plan for America to win back the White House. Now, if you run an Oprah Winfrey with her legendary appeal to at least 2 generations of women, yeah, we're talking about a 20, 25 year span here of Oprah. You have Oprah babies out there who, if she mounts that podium and mounts it right and has a message that only liberals have, and that is some emotional message out there that, and in a way that only Oprah can do, that could be a serious contender in 2020. That's why we have to make sure that this administration remains strong and that we remain strong behind it, because you run a black woman with the creds, and I'm talking about legitimate street creds, that an Oprah Winfrey has. That's a very viable candidate in this type of climate where people don't care anything about policy. They don't care anything about policy. They care about feel good. When we are running in a climate where repeal or replace Obamacare is on the front burner, in 4 years, knowing that we cannot see down the road. There's no way we can see down the road. So we have to understand that in order for them to win back the White House, they had to come better than Elizabeth Warren. They had to come with somebody better than Bernie Sanders. A Cory Booker is not going to knock off Donald Trump. Cory Booker cannot compete against a mammoth personality like Donald Trump. Neither can Bernie Sanders. Neither can Elizabeth Warren, who Trump affectionately calls Pocahontas. So funny. Affectionately calls her Pocahontas because she claims to be Cherokee or something like that. Nah, don't we all? Yeah. So it's going to take strong personality to throw Trump off his dime. And I have a feeling that he is going to be solidly entrenched in what he has intended to do in 4 years. I'll tell you more about why I feel that way when I return. CL. Friday, the weekend show. This is the day where I get a chance to vent and talk to you about things that I want to share from my point of view. During the week, of course, we have numerous guests and your phone calls, of course. But on Friday, we don't do the open line thing. I sort of do an open mind thing with you where I open up my personal thoughts to you and share with you from a perspective that has evolved over a long period of time, seen both sides of the street. I've seen the liberal side of the street because I was one. I was the president of the NAACP in Garland, Texas, 25 years ago, a little bit longer now, back in the late mid-'80s. Well, late 80s, 87 is when I became president of NAACP there, served 2 terms. And then I realized that the direction the organization was going was away from who I was. Some people just go along with the flow because everybody else is without realizing who they are. You always have to maintain your sense of self and who you are, or you will get lost and you will become used as a pawn if you don't maintain your identity. Well, some people would like to think that somehow I'm a pawn of the Republicans. I am not. I have just told you that if the Republicans do not get their act together and get on board with a president who is really not a mainstream Republican and not a mainstream politician, then believe me, Republican Party that I am a proud member of, yes, I am, I'm coming after you. Al Sharpton can never say that to the Democrats. I'm a free man. Hey, listen, I maintain that freedom. Every American should. You should be free to speak your mind regardless of race, creed, color, and let me throw in party. But here's the strangest thing about being a black conservative. Let me share this with you. I have shared it before. It's been a while. But here's the strangest thing. The most, I guess it is even unique among black folks altogether. I've been a conservative now, a true conservative, for about 19 years. Yeah, I was an independent. I've been a Republican for about 17, 18 years. Now, I was an independent, and once I left the Democrat Party, I was an independent for about 6 years. For about 4 or 5 years. About 4 or 5 years, Jane and I became independents because we couldn't abide the Democrat Party any longer. We left the Democrat Party, became independents because I was not yet ready to embrace the R. I couldn't embrace the R, the Republican brand. I just couldn't embrace it for the usual reasons. I was black, I was in the South, and I had been a liberal. There's no way that I could embrace the Republican brand. But then I began to study what that brand was all about. And I did realize, began to realize, actually made a movie about it. I realized that, hey, for a black person in America, the Republican brand is exactly the brand that we should be wearing. Not the Democrat brand, it's the Republican brand that we should be wearing, we should be associated with. I don't believe in wearing a brand as far as a party is concerned, because you may have to break with that party like Ronald Reagan had to do from the Democrat Party. And he famously said, I didn't leave them. They left me. I didn't leave the NAACP. They left me. They left my core values. And the hardest thing about being a black conservative in this country is that once you understand that the organization that you are in lockstep with is leaving you, there are others who want to remain a part of the flow of the organization. Call it fraternity, call it community, call it culture, whatever you want to call it. But once the community, once the fraternity, once the culture leaves you as a person of core value beliefs, then if you are an individual of independence, you have to let them go and remain who you are, or you get yourself lost and you wind up being being a part of something that when you go home at night, you're not really at peace with it. It makes you angry too. When you're not at peace with your political self, when you're not at peace with your political spirit, when you're a part of a political system that is against your core values, that makes you angry. You now have to find a target of someone to vent that anger against. And more than likely, it is unreasonable anger. It is misdirected anger. I see it all the time. And keep in mind, I was a pastoral counselor for nearly 30 years. I have talked and looked into the minds of all types of people. I understand when the problem is not that you present is not the problem that's bothering you. But there are problems that we present. And the problem, there are certain situations that we put forward as the concern. But that's really not the true concern. The true concern is, and the issue usually is you. And that is, you are not doing and espousing things that you know to be true about yourself. I'll be back.
I feel tired Saturday night. 9 o'clock. Radio's the only
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL. Yeah, I was talking about a constitutional crisis that could be erupting here in our nation. Constitutional crisis. And one that is being assisted by those who may be out of touch with their own selves. You have your own constitution. You do know that, right? Yeah. Doctors used to refer to it. I remember I've told this story. I'm going to tell it one more time. I'm going to tell it, well, maybe more than, maybe this is not the last time. I certainly hope not. But my grandfather was dying. And I was about, 10, 12 years old at the time. And I'd never seen the old man sick. Never seen the old man sick. And the doctor came out to the house down in the country, down in Grand Cane, came out to the country to see my grandfather on his sick bed. And my mother asked the doctor, is my daddy going to die? And the doctor told my mom, you know, I don't think so, because Charlie has a strong constitution. And sure enough, just a few days later, he was all over that. And about a week later, hey, that old man was back out doing work, sweating hard, sweating work. He was a pulpwood cutter. And he lived another 15, 20 years. Yeah. Sure did. Strong constitution. He had a strong constitution. But there was something at that point in time that was trying to break down There was a sickness. There was an illness inside of him that was trying to break down his constitution and literally destroy him as the being that he was. And that's what's going on right now in this country. And my whole point in what I was saying in the last block about being a conservative and being happen to be black in this country is that when you adhere to the stronger parts of your own constitution, there are those who then come in and try and break it down to make you feel as though you should be ashamed, to make you feel as though you have betrayed somebody's trust, or that you are betraying an entire race of people because you are not going along with everybody else. Because Master said, if we don't stick together, we can't get what we want. An American looks at that this way. I say, if I don't adhere to the tenets of the Constitution of America and the precepts of that Constitution that makes the nation great, I can't get what I want. And that is the endowment that guarantees me life, liberty, and the pursuit of my happiness in this country. But folks, if you go along with those who are attacking and wanting to break down the Constitution of the nation, you often get what the group wants. And let me tell you, you can't make a group of people happy. You can make the leaders of the group happy. Oh, you come along with me now. Hear me. You can make the organizers of the group happy if you're just going along with the group because you're afraid of what they'll say about you. If you don't, you can make the organizers happy. And I can assure you that the organizers of any group that is against the tenets of the constitutional values of the nation, especially this nation, there is a design and an alternative motive to them going against the principles of this Constitution. You may say, well, that didn't happen back when we were trying to abolish slavery. Well, everybody knew that was wrong. Even the people who had slaves knew that was wrong. Everybody knew that was wrong. We just had to correct that. Everybody knew that was a business proposition. But what the problem is here in 2017, you have that same type of business proposition going on, wanting to create modern day slaves of people who would willingly be slaves if the price is right. There are people who would willingly lead folks into slavery, and they have done it over a period of time. And now you call it the inner city instead of the plantation. You call it the penal system instead of the plantation. You call it, in so many cases, not all, but in so many cases, the educational system instead of the plantation. I'm CL. Back in a minute. A breakdown in the orderly operation of government. Constitutional crisis. America is in the throes of constitutional crisis. There is an active design to create a breakdown in the orderly operation of government. And Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States, along with the President of the United States, are the targets to try to create this breakdown. Bring the president down, bring the attorney general down. You destroy, you disrupt law and order. Bring the commander-in-chief down, bring the chief law enforcement officer down. You have a good you have a good headway, a good head start into disrupting law and order. Knowing, and the progressive liberals know this, that's why they're trying to create this constitutional crisis. They know that the new sheriff in town, especially after last Tuesday night, they know that he is able to bring about law and order. They know that he is, in fact, moving toward uniting the Republican Party. Oh, yeah. I'm going to be with my good buddy Mike Johnson tomorrow. Mike was on the show last Wednesday, and he was saying that after that speech on Tuesday night, there were Republicans all throughout the House of Representatives that just could not wait to jump on board the Trump train. Those who had been dragging their feet on the merry-go-round, they are now jumping on board the Trump train. And guess who's seeing it? The progressive liberals in the same United States House of Representatives with Mike Johnson. They're seeing it. And they're saying to themselves, we got to do something. We have to do something here. And so let's see if we can't create some kind of constitutional crisis, something that will attack the very foundation and the operation of this administration, and see if we can't bring it down. That's how diabolical this is going to be. That's how real this is. Oh, yeah. No question about it. Well, we're talking about, and it's got to be more than just talk from this point on, we're talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare. But then there are some who are just saying it needs to be repaired. No, Obamacare needs to be repealed and replaced, not just repaired. And whatever the Republicans come up with, listen to me, whatever the Republicans come up with, it had better be better, pardon me, than what they have already, what Obamacare is. It better be better than that. So, think long, think hard if you have to, you should, about how you're going to go about doing it. Because in replacing and repealing Obamacare, repealing and then replacing Obamacare, there is one thing that you must have in place. And that is something that is better, much better than what Obamacare is right now. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to quiet some of these voices that are screaming in the night, screaming in the night. It's been fun being with you today. I'm going to be back to put the cherry on top of this today. To finish that thought, though, that I had about being conservative and being black. The reason that is so hard is because it's easy to be Italian and Republican, Irish and Republican, because that ethnic group just simply look at you as another person who happens to be of this political persuasion. But when you're black and Republican, in 2017, America, then somehow you're evil. You're against an entire race of people. You're a sellout. That's how loony that can be. So we have to take into account that all the tools are on the table now to not only come against people like me, but the tools are on the table now to create constitutional crisis. I'm CL. Don't go away. We'll be back to close it out. March, my month, the month of my birth, March, comes in roaring like a lion across the nation. And I have said to you today that we need to roar ourselves. I opened the show with a quote by a fellow by the name of Mike Rowe, who is a motivational speaker around the country, job creator, motivator. He said these words, folks, and I want to leave you with the same words that I opened with. In order to make America great again, Mike Rowe says, we need to make work cool again. We need to make work cool again. I would that we get back to the time when young people, the foremost thing on their mind was not to stay in mom and dad's house in their room playing video games from now on, or in the basement or wherever they are. But they would set their goals on what they're going to do with their life away from mom and dad. And I hope that we can get back to the time where mom and dads actually actively push Junior and Jeannie out of the house. Push them out of the nest. That used to be a very familiar saying. Don't hear it much anymore. Somehow we've gotten to a point where we don't care if they stay in the nest or even bring children into the nest that they have had, perhaps out of wedlock. they bring them into the nest too. We've made it okay. We need to get back to a point where we push them out of the nest and prepare them to fly on their own. Because I want you to remember this. There are those who want us to go away and be quiet, sit down somewhere. There are those who don't want us to speak our minds. They want us to sit into a corner and close our mouths. But if there's one thing I want to leave you with here on this Friday show, this weekend show, as I head to Benton tomorrow to speak to, hopefully, a couple of thousand of you. Come up and be with us. We are Americans, and we will not go away quietly into the night. We will stand, and we will fight, because we are Americans. I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day, and I want to thank Him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
And to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side, and the bond will never be torn.